We're going to be joined by Serbian journalist Nebojsa Markovic very shortly. He's going to take us through the Serbian team and what to expect. Let's first of all, though, just have a quick chat about Andorra. It's common knowledge that they're no world beaters, and I'm sure that they won't be. Well, they shouldn't be too much of a problem for England. But I was in Barcelona in June, and it was a problem. It was a massive problem, and they have got better, and I know they've done a lot of work in development, and their under-21s once gave England a really good game and all this kind of stuff. But let's get real here. We've just talked about the lure of the Premier League and how much it is so much larger, more lucrative, more skillful now probably than any other league, more physical. Scott, they've got to make mincemeat of Andorra, haven't they, on Saturday night? Otherwise, Thomas Tuchel is going to get absolute pelters, isn't he?
Well, I just wonder, with Crookie scoring that unbelievable goal from 4 yards out at Fratton Park, has he not put his hands up?
8 yards.
No, hold on, Crook. You can't keep changing the measurement, right? If we keep saying 4 yards and you keep correcting us, but it keeps getting further away every time you do. So the first time it was 6, then it was 7, and now it's 8.
Be halfway line by the end of the season.
off his backside, whichever one it was, he could play up front, and we should win this. But it was a really poor performance, really laboured performance, and I'm fascinated to see what Thomas Tuchel will do this. What's the mindset here to make sure you win this particular game, or are we still developing ahead? Because to actually win the game and win it by 4, 5, 6, 7 can start creating a little bit more confidence elsewhere. But whatever 11 he puts out, absolutely we should do this. It's just, is it 4-3-3? Is it 4-2-3-1? Do you put in Elliot Anderson? I personally would like to see him start now. I think he's been brilliant for the under-21s. He's started the season really well. That pass he did early on in the season was just sensational for Forest.
The snap pass in the first game of the season, wasn't it, against Crystal Palace?
Against Brentford.
Brentford,
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I just think he's ready. He's ready for Thomas Tuchel to see if he's ready to be a squad player. Not necessarily a first 11, but I think this is, are you ready to be an England player? Are you ready to handle that kind of hassle and pressure that comes with it that you don't get in the under-21? So for me, I'd like to see him play alongside Declan Rice, and we'll have to see who plays in number 10. I really like Morgan Rogers personally, so I'd love to see him play as well.
Yeah, do you know what? I come round to the sort of way of thinking that actually Thomas Tuchel is doing his best to try and see as many different players as possible in camp and on the field, because there's another big churn in terms of people coming into the squad and going out of the squad this time around. Another 10 new players that weren't in the squad last time that are involved this time. And I thought, first of all, that's to do with injury and whatever. But actually, the more I think about it, and going back and looking at some of the other squads, he is just trying to see as many as possible. And I know that Jared Bowen was left out during the summer, and a lot was sort of made of that. And actually, it was because he just wanted to look at different players. And I know Scott's got a bit funny about Trent not being involved today. But, he doesn't need to be involved because he knows what Trent can do. And he wants to have a look at Reece James to see if he's robust enough to be able to play regularly, because let's be honest, the kid hasn't played much for Chelsea this season. He's only been off the bench in 2 of the 3 games. And he wants to look at Livramento, he didn't have in the summer, but has now because of the under-21s. He went off to do the under-21s. So I think he's still sort of experimenting a little bit. That's not great in terms of results, because Senegal was a poor performance as well. But I think he's probably realised you're never going to get into a rhythm with this group, because there's always injuries, there's always pullouts. So you're never going to get a settled 11 to be able to develop a team. So he just needs to find in his own mind what he thinks is the core of the group. And then between now and beginning of May, settle on that. And then eventually they'll find themselves in a situation where he'll pick a team from that group next summer. I think that's probably the process now, just whittling down the pool of players that he's going to use.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that he's obviously opted not to take the full quota with this squad. It was 26, wasn't it, you were allowed? He's only taken 24. If you're not in this 24 and you're fit, maybe with the exception of Trent for the reasons that you've just said, but I would be worried as to whether or not you're going to be able to get a seat on the plane next summer. I've got to applaud Scott. You used the word fascinating and England against Andorra don't often go together. I switched off at half-time last time these two met because it was absolutely abysmal. I'm not necessarily going to make an appointment to view. I'm intrigued by the Serbia game. I couldn't really care less about this one, to be honest. I think it's a big problem with international football. Fascinating piece that Jonathan Norcroft wrote in the Times this morning. England have never played against Lionel Messi for Argentina. Since they last played Argentina, they've played Andorra on half a dozen occasions. What's the point, honestly? This is a brilliant advert for pre-qualifiers, and England can't win, really. If they win 6-0, it's expected. If they underwhelm, like they did in the first game, then they're going to get hammered. I think this is an absolutely pointless fixture. I really do. You're not going to learn anything about this England team.
I've spoken about this a lot, and I said I came up with that system, didn't I? That last international break about using the sort of Swiss model that they use in the Champions League for qualification, and instead of the Nations League should become the whole thing, the qualification period and the World Cup qualification period as well, Euros and World Cup qualification period, and try and make it a little bit more competitive. Because at the moment it is difficult. It is difficult to garner interest, especially with England because they're so good. But for the other nations, I'm not necessarily sure that is the case. On Tuesday night, we're going off to Belgrade to see Serbia in action. And I'm delighted to say that we're joined now by Nebojsa Markovic, who is a Serbian journalist. Hello, thank you very much for coming on and speaking to us. Did I get that right, by the way? I've got to work on my Serbian pronunciation.
You got it almost perfect. So, yeah, that's great.
Oh, good. Thank you very much for joining us. Listen, obviously Serbia in a different position to England in that they started slightly behind England in terms of World Cup qualification. But what is the current picture and what's the feeling in Serbia about the team? Because we know a few of the players.
Yes, the feeling in Serbia is not really positive that much. We started behind because of those matches against Austria in the Nations League, and we really performed well, which was a kind of a surprise because we know how strong Austria is. And we stayed in the top division of the Nations League. But then that trip to Albania was far from good, and we basically salvaged a draw because George Petrovic of Bournemouth now he saved the penalty. So it was a poor match from us, and we were lucky to escape with a point, and it was not a great performance. And then came Andorra, which we won with Aleksandar Mitrovic's hat trick on his 100th match for Serbia. So that was good, but that was, as you mentioned, that was expected. You always want to win those 3 points against those weaker sides. So the expectations here are not that great. We know how World Cup qualifying is much tougher than for the Euros, and to be top of the group ahead of England is a big task. And we haven't been in a great mood since the Euros because we underwhelmed there as well, as you remember, because we were in the same group. And ever since, it's kind of... We had some decent matches in the Nations League, and, maybe we did really well against Spain in Belgrade, which was their first match after winning the Euros. But in general, the vibe is not really positive, and some of our key players are not playing that much for their clubs, so that's another problem.
Nebojsa, what system do you play? And I look at the forward players. I mean, there are a lot of players who, in the Premier League, but in terms of Mitrovic and Vlahovic as well, on paper, that looks really, really good. But do they play together?
They do. We usually play with 3 center backs. That's our standard formation now because it suits Milenkovic from Nottingham Forest, who plays centrally, and then Strahinja Pavlovic from AC Milan, who plays on the left, and he's that left-footed player that can bring the ball forward. But it's going to be interesting whether we're going to play with 2 strikers against England for several reasons. Clearly, one is that Mitrovic and Vlahovic are not the most mobile strikers, and it can put a strain on your midfield when you have both of them on the pitch. And then against England, that's a special problem. And then there's also the fact that Mitrovic basically hasn't played since that match against Andorra in June. and he was at the Club World Cup, but he didn't play for Al Hilal, and he's really. He's not had any games, so it's going to be interesting to see how much he's going to play against Latvia, and if he's going to maybe be saved for the bench, or our head coach Stojkovic is known for making surprises, so anything is possible. We could have like 6 or 7 attacking minded players against England, but then in the matches, like a must-win match against Denmark at the Euros, he started with 4 defensive midfielders in the starting 11. So there's all kinds of things are possible, but often and recently, we did play with both Mitrovic and Vlahovic.
Obviously, Serbia come into the game. We know that they're unbeaten, although you said they're not in a great moment. How big a game is it? I mean, it's obviously a big game in the context of World Cup qualifying, but we've just been talking about the value of the Premier League. Is there excitement about England coming to town? What's the feeling?
Yes, there is excitement, and whenever you have a big national team coming to Serbia, like England are, there's big excitement, and the stands are going to be packed, and there's people trying to somehow find the tickets for the match, which are now it's not gonna happen because those went by fast. They were sold really quickly, so it's gonna be packed, and people follow England very much. Premier League is clearly the most popular foreign league in Serbia, so all the fans know all the players, and they follow all the clubs, and there's some of the biggest English clubs have their own fan clubs in Serbia, so the fans here are excited to see these players coming to Belgrade, but we've been known historically to be able, maybe not to beat these stronger sides, these strongest European sides, but to hold them to a draw, especially in Belgrade with the fans behind their backs. So there is excitement, and there is this kind of quiet belief that maybe we can maybe get a point off England.
There is a little bit of history between the two countries, isn't there? I mean, if you go back to 2012 in under-21 qualifying, there was almost a riot, actually, wasn't there? Because there was suggestion of racist abuse from the stands. I mean, Jordan Henderson was in the team as the captain of the under-21s back then, and he said that there were stones, coins and seats being thrown at us. There was also an issue, I think, back in 2007 at the under-21 European Championships. What have the Serbian FA put in place to ensure that sort of stuff doesn't happen again?
I don't believe anything like that will happen. I think this is going to just be one of those regular nice nights at the Red Star Stadium that with 50,000 people, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful atmosphere for both teams to play in, and they're definitely going to try and maybe help our national team win, but I don't think we're going to see anything too special in the stands this time around.
Good news, and we are looking forward to coming out to see you as well. Are you going to sort out a nice restaurant recommendation for us? Is that okay? Can you do that? Nice place to go and have a little bit of a post-match debrief as well. We like that.
Yeah, we can do restaurants, we can do pubs, we can do nightclubs, whatever you need. Belgrade has it to offer you. So you just come here prepared. Yeah.
Nebojsa, be careful what you say. Sam will be in your house for the next 3-4 days after that. Don't worry.
No, not at all. Not at all. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Nebojsa, thank you very much. Nebojsa Markovic joining us from Belgrade to talk about what England can expect in Serbia. Both games live on talkSPORT. Andorra at Villa Park Saturday evening, and on Tuesday night in Belgrade, England take on Serbia. Hardest away game there is, actually, I think, in this World Cup qualifying campaign.